GM everyone. This is Naruto, your Anon, your Anon host for Avail Hot Takes Live. Today we have Lava Network and Ethan from Lava, who leads community, and then we will be basically talking about, diving deep into this hot lava, what it is, how the Lava Network works, what are they trying to achieve, and what we can, work together, how Avail has partnered with Lava. So, Ethan, first off, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us more about you, how you got into crypto, and like why you're so excited about Lava slash like crypto in general.
Sure. Yeah, good to be here, Naruto, and also to speak to the Avail community. 200 people here. So thanks for inviting me. I'm Ethan. I'm the community lead at Lava. It's my role to be the interface between the team and the community to gather feedback and to figure out what makes people tick. And how I first got into crypto was about I think it might be almost 4 years ago now, in 2020. It was peak of the well, not a peak, but it was a lovely bull run. It was a very different cycle to the one that we're in now, and there was a little something called social tokens back then. Nowadays they call it celebrity coins, or some would say meme coins. Um, but back then, there was this interesting concept called a social token, where you can essentially invest in a person. Right? You can buy a token that represents something similar to a stock in a person, um, and you could basically help fund them, and they would give you things in exchange, like free concert tickets or um, one-to-one meetings, etc. And this was my first of hearing about crypto beyond just cryptocurrency. And since then, it's just been diving in ever since. Crypto, I believe, is still going to be huge now and in the future, whether that's social applications and social fi, as we see with Farcaster, which I know is getting a lot of ground in um, I think in the West, or actually maybe the East, and also with Telegram recently picking up steam as well. We also have AI trends in the crypto space where AI can be used to collapse the awful UX that a lot of users currently experience. So I'm still extremely bullish on crypto. Um, and I was working at Google for 2 years doing sales and a bit of product marketing as well. And alongside Google, I was working on my own startup in the NFT space and just generally digging around Web3. And the NFT startup that I was working on was a social marketplace for NFTs, which I don't know if you remember, but Base or Coinbase tried to launch their own social NFT marketplace, which was essentially something similar to Instagram, where you can buy NFTs in the interface. And uh, essentially, it was way too early for that idea. And so I stopped. Well, me and my co-founder split up there, and I had a mentor at the time who turned out to be one of the core contributors to Lava, Yaya Clipper. And eventually, I left Google to join Lava and dived headfirst into crypto. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about Lava on this call, so I won't say too much here. But Lava is building some critical infrastructure. We just launched mainnet, and I've now been here for 2 years, and it's been a wild ride. So good to be here, and excited to dive in.
Yeah, I think it's a very big jump, moving from Google to a very, like a startup, a new startup, especially in crypto. So that's very interesting. And I think like I've been looking at Lava for like last 2-ish years, ever since you guys came out, and it was like, very wild journey, I can say, like how far you guys have come along. So, like definitely very, very excited to talk. So quick, like let's jump in. But I first want to congratulate you guys for the mainnet. I saw there was like, all the big information coming in. I hope I'm right. Um,
Yes.
I want to ask and understand like what is lava? And number one question is like, why did you guys choose the lava network, lava name? What does it mean? What does it represent? Can you like explain a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. I'll tackle the lava question first. So, um, to be honest, obviously wasn't me who selected the name as the core contributors, and my understanding was that it was meant to represent this tearing down of old ground and unleashing of new fertile ground. And I think it reflects the ethos that inspired Lava in the first place. The founders came into the crypto space and saw that although there was a hugely exciting DeFi space at the time, and there still is, uh, the tooling that developers and users have to actually access that app layer didn't didn't match. It was dreadful, right? Back in the day, you had Ethereum mainnet, but now you have many different chains, and the tooling, which we'll get into, like RPC, etc., um, didn't have the right quality and reliability for users to actually start taking advantage of them. So uh, we wanted to burn down the old ground and unreliable infrastructure and bring new ground. And so Lava seemed to be a fitting name. It was a new foundation for a new internet called blockchain. So that's a bit about Lava. I think your second question was, what is Lava? Hey, Quaz, good to see you. What is Lava? Yeah, so I don't know whether the audience is technical or not, but I can explain in different ways. One way that you can see Lava is as this so-called access layer for blockchains. And how I will explain this is every time you use a wallet or a dApp, that wallet and dApp needs to actually get information, get data from the blockchain, or send your transactions to the blockchain, right? So there needs to be some sort of connection between your dApp that you want to use and the blockchain that you want to access. And so in between the wallet and the dApp and the blockchain is this infrastructure service called RPC, which Lava provides. And so you can think of Lava as this access layer that can support connections to any blockchain out there. Another way you can think about Lava is on a more technical level. And for the developers on the call, Lava is a peer-to-peer protocol off chain and a Cosmos app chain that coordinates RPC providers and more general infrastructure providers to provide service to RPC and infrastructure consumers. And how that looks is you have people who run RPC nodes who join Lava, attracted by incentive pools that are created by blockchains. And in return, the blockchains get a network of infrastructure providers that can serve the data and handle the requests that a user asks of the blockchain. So, for example, some of these requests might be, what is my latest balance, right? How much Avail do I have on the Avail blockchain? Can I swap my ETH to Avail because I'm bullish on Avail? Can I
Mm-hmm.
um, can I deploy the smart contract? Uh, can I can I stake Avail? Right,
Mm-hmm.
all of these are requests called RPC requests that need to be handled by RPC providers. And so, if you're a new blockchain or new rollup, you need RPC providers. And Lava is this protocol that helps chains attract RPC providers to handle these requests in a reliable and decentralized way. So yeah, that's a bit about Lava.
Interesting. Yeah. This is what my next question was supposed to be like, how Lava is different from different RPC providers because there are like a ton of them, right?
Yes.
But this makes a lot more sense now on how like you guys are approaching it, how it's a decentralized in nature, which I don't think like a lot of these RPC providers who are out there are already doing that. So that's a big, I think, huge plus one to you guys to be sticking to the ethos of like decentralization, Ethereum, or like just a community. um so let me ask you another question on the similar nature, like when you say and I was reading the docs for Lava, it says like it is a modular and scalable architecture. What do you mean like modular and scalable? Is it like because it's on Cosmos, or what's the plan here?
Yeah, that's a good question. And again, I can answer this in two ways. One way is that, since Celeste was or you can look further back at Ethereum as the original modular blockchain, you have this ethos of modularity that is essentially a movement. It's this movement that says instead of a blockchain doing one thing, i.e., being monolithic, like maybe Solana, you in fact have separation of functions across the blockchain, and then you combine those specialized layers. So, for example, you have Celestia that focuses on DA, or you have Avail, of course, that focuses on trust minimized DA. You have settlement layers, for example, like Ethereum. You have um, consensus layers. You have execution layers like Fuel or
Few.
yeah, exactly. There's many building on this layer, and then you also have the layer that I just spoke about, which is this access layer, or you could see it as the data read write layer, right? Facilitated by RPC, and that's essentially what Lava does. So Lava's in this section of the RPC stack, which provides access between users and their apps and the blockchains themselves via this infrastructure called RPC. We plan to enable a lot of other data exchange and messaging infrastructure too. For example, oracles, indexing beyond just RPC. But for now, you can think of it as a specialized blockchain network that focuses on just one part of that modular stack, just like Avail does as well. And so that's one way you can see that it's modular. The other way is more on an architectural level, on a technical level, whereby Lava can support any blockchain, any rollup, L2 network, whatever. And how we do this is we have this modular component that we call a spec or a specification. And it's not the sexiest name, but essentially what it does is it allows anyone, anyone technical enough, to write the outlines of what a chain needs in terms of the service that it needs. So, for example, let's say you have a Avail or a roll up using Avail DA, right?
Yep.
Which we'll talk about in a second. An Avail roll up might say we need RPC for our roll up, and this is the set of calls and functions that we want to allow users and developers to make. So all of those calls can be detailed and described and captured in a spec called Avail Rollup, or whatever it's called, Avail Rollup RPC spec. And that can be submitted to the Lava Network governance. You'll pass through governance. And from then on, Lava now supports that Avail Rollups RPC. And so RPC providers can join Lava and serve the requests according to that spec, which also describes the compute cost of each call. And that ecosystem can now have decentralized, reliable RPC. So there's modular approach to the Lava architecture, which allows any chain to be added and also any service. Right? We spoke about how the calls that are described in this specific spec are the RPC calls, but there may be certain indexing functions that want to be included, and we already support this with Subgraph actually. But in the future, there may be account abstraction APIs that can be added to Lava as well. And again, it's the same thing. You add the spec, and the supply side, the infrastructure providers, the indexers, the RPC providers, they join Lava and they serve the request according to the spec. And so you can think of modularity in that respect as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of like Avail devs or like people building on Avail will be very much, will benefit from this idea because I don't see any more solutions. I might be wrong, of course, but I don't see any, solutions to decentralized approach as well. Like I don't see a lot of big major companies working on it. So, kudos to you guys for that. So you mentioned like there will be chain abstraction APIs. Can you like dive deeper into how Lava fits into the whole chain abstraction landscape, or like what are your plans? What is that big vision in the chain abstraction field?
Yeah, sure. And before we do that, there's one more thing I want to mention, which is that yes, Lava helps these chains and rollups decentralize their RPC. Um, but we've also seen the performance benefits too. So I don't want to just make this all about ideology and values, which is a debate in itself. But also Lava makes sure that the RPC is much more redundant, right? If you have one provider that goes down, and that's the only provider that you're using, you can't connect to the blockchain. And we see a lot of chains and a lot of dApps stuck in this situation, this single point of failure. If you have more providers, like Lava enables your chain to have, then there's redundancy built in, whereby if one provider is too slow or unavailable, another provider can join in. There's also a whole host of other things. For example, we built uh, our very own open source caching library. So if you're an RPC provider, you can use this library and optimize your caching. So if you're serving a lot of the same requests as an RPC provider on Lava, you can do that without retrieving the response every single time manually, right? You can just cache the responses and serve them when needed. So that increases the speed, of course. And then finally, we have this complex pairing algorithm, which essentially means that if you're an RPC consumer and adapt, when you make a request, you're actually sending a request to the optimal provider based on geolocation, right? So instead of you using one of the big providers, I don't know, Alchemy, which is a great company, but just for the example, for the purpose of this example, if you're using Alchemy, maybe they're underserved in Asia, right? And so, being this globally distributed, decentralized network that Lava is, we can have more coverage across the world. And that means faster responses for users and ultimately a better user experience. So, just wanted to emphasize the performance part as well. But the question was
So
about, yeah, go on,
uh,
go on.
it just got a little bit interesting to me right now, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit like off topic, but I wanted to ask, number one, do you think then Lava can be considered as a kind of a deep in project or no?
Good. Yeah, really good question. And I think you can, yeah. I think you can say that, yes.
Okay,
Um, yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah. So like just to like quickly articulate my question is like it can be considered or not as a deep in project, and if it can, do you think the current infrastructure of Lava or deep in projects is better than these centralized organizations like let's say Alchemy, QuickNode? What are your thoughts on that?
sorry, I broke up a quick second there. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I was saying like let's just say that it like maybe question is it a deep in project or not? If it is,
Yeah,
do you think the current infrastructure of Lava slash any of these projects is better than the Alchemy slash like other centralized RPC providers? What do you like the performance wise? Like the performance of it, reliability of it is better than these or not?
yeah, absolutely. So to answer your first question about deepin, the answer is yes. You can see lava as a deepin. Actually, I've been following the deepin space a bit. I think it's one of the most bullish areas in all of crypto, and I just want to give a shout out to that space because I think it's done an amazing job abstracting away the idea that is built on crypto. Right? If you're There's a lot of projects in deepin, for example, Helium, which is this sort of decentralized deepin mobile network coverage service. And I was listening to a podcast recently from Alliance, a good game, where they talk about Helium having a lot of usage in America. And they've obviously built up the supply side over the last 4 or 5 years or however long it's been. And now they're pushing on the user side. And the users don't know. All they do is they buy a phone contract, Verizon or T-Mobile, whoever. And I think Helium has a partnership with Verizon. And so, if, for example, your Verizon coverage goes down, it automatically switches to the Helium network. And users don't know it's crypto. And I love that about Deepin. I think it's one of the best areas in crypto. And you can see Lava as the same, right? Lava is this supply side, which is the infrastructure providers. And then you have the demand side, which is the users, the dApps that are making these requests to a globally distributed and decentralized network. Uh, and so, yeah. you can think of Lava as deepin. Your second point about whether Lava can be more performant than an individual provider, for example, Alchemy, I think again the answer is yes, right? There's many benefits to having a decentralized distributed system, and there's also many disadvantages. And so I want to touch upon those as well because otherwise it won't be fair. The disadvantages that we can see, which we've actually solved, are that, and you see this with blockchains, in a decentralized system, it takes time for queries or for consensus to be achieved, right? And that's been one of the criticisms of a decentralized computer, for example, Ethereum. Can Ethereum ever be faster than a centralized computer or server center? And when we first launched Lava, this was also a big question that a lot of our partners had. Can Lava be faster than a centralized provider, especially a major centralized provider? And the answer is yes. And the reason why is because we solved that issue by disconnecting the requests, the communication between dApps and providers and the blockchain itself, right? Obviously, if you're making a request to a provider, and every time you make a request, there has to be consensus reached on the blockchain, on Lava blockchain. That's going to be very slow. It's going to introduce a lot of latency into the system. But what happens with Lava is the blockchain is minimal. And how that works is if you're an RPC provider, you stake Lava to quote unquote register on the Lava blockchain. And then as a dApp developer, you will essentially fetch a list of providers from the Lava blockchain based on their geolocation, based on their historical performance, etc. And you will communicate directly with those providers. You don't need to touch the Lava blockchain until you get another list. And so there's no added latency in that system, right? You fetch the list and then you communicate peer to peer. And later in the next epoch, you fetch another list, and again, it's an optimized list based on geolocation and latency and uptime and availability. And you again communicate peer to peer. And so we found interesting ways to make Lava just as, if not more performant than centralized providers can be. And the last visualization that I encourage the audience to look at this from is that you have providers like Alchemy, etc., and you have small providers. If you aggregate them and then route the request to order them, you benefit from that combination, from the aggregation, right? Just like if it's a DEX aggregator, if you can route the request not just to one DEX, but to many different DEXs using 10 solvers or whatever, you obviously get a better result for users. And a lot of people are very familiar with DEX aggregators. And we're basically taking that same concept of routing and aggregation to RPC and infrastructure and data retrieval and submission, right? And so, yes, we're very confident that Lava is more performant. In fact, we've already had partnerships, obviously with Avail, which is going to be rolling out very soon, but with, for example, Near Protocol, Evmos, Axlar, other Cosmos chains, where we've essentially become the default provider on these chains. And how we do that is we aggregate the existing public RPC providers, and we provide the optimization, the routing interface. So, yeah. So we're very confident it's more performant, and if you're still doubting, you're welcome to try yourself.
No, that's a pretty good, this is a pretty good conversation to have with someone who believes in deep in projects, why they're better, or like why they're performance wise they're doing better than the, or like will do better than the Web2 solutions. So definitely loved your thought process over here. Moving back to rolling back to our same question on that, like how does the Lava fit in to the chain abstraction landscape?
Yeah.
Can you touch point a little bit on here and there? Like I know you previously did too, but can you explain a little bit more again?
Yeah, sure. So chain abstraction is this idea that users shouldn't know which chain they're using necessarily, right? If they don't want to. Right? The default is that users should just have the best service and best experience. And if they want to select a specific chain, then they can do. But that's not the case right now. The case right now is you pick the chain you want, and it's not abstracted away at all. When you're using a specific blockchain, you have the gas fees, for example, that lock you into that ecosystem or make that ecosystem very hard for you to onboard to, whichever way you want to look at it. And so chain abstraction is this concept that essentially has UX at the heart of it. The other thing that it has at the heart of it is developer experience. And actually, yesterday I was on a Twitter space or a live stream exactly about chain abstraction and what the end state of that is. And I think what it means is that developers in this chain abstracted world are the ones who pick. They pick the chains that or the rollups that best suit their needs, and users don't need to pick by default, but they have the option to if they want to. And so uh, that's sometimes a controversial approach. Some people have tweeted that if you abstract away chains, you're basically removing the benefit of blockchains, which the whole point is that a user can decide to use a specific blockchain and to have the token and hold it and support the project. And there's a whole narrative there about the incentives changing entirely. But we won't go into that. But I think in terms of developer experience, it's this idea that you can choose the chains that you want to use. And this is not the case right now, right? And let me zoom in on where Lava fits in here, especially with RPC. If you're a developer now and you're building an application and you want to build it multi-chain, and I think the last report I read was something like 30% of developers are building on more than two chains, right? So there's definitely appetite for a multi-chain world, and obviously if you're following Avail and Lava, you believe in this modular approach, where we'll have a world of 1,000 or million rollups. And so in that world, each of these rollups, each of these chains are going to need their own RPC providers. So if you're building an application, let's say it's a simple wallet. It's a wallet that requires that lets users buy or swap tokens from one chain to another, and then buy tokens from a third chain and a fourth chain and fifth chain and sixth chain. All of those require RPC calls to a provider for that chain. Right? Someone, an entity, or someone who runs an RPC node that can handle your request for that chain. And you can imagine how, in that situation, which is the current situation, it becomes very difficult for providers to build on multiple chains because sometimes a chain doesn't have providers, sometimes it has limited providers, sometimes the developer has to run their own RPC nodes, and why would you want to do that? Sometimes the developers have to pay a lot for a simple functionality like cached requests, for example, right, to a provider because that's the only provider for that chain that they want to build on. And so you have all of these complications, which essentially derive from uh, an inefficient market, right? Where you have Ethereum and bigger chains that have a lot of providers, and the small, newer chains don't have many providers, let alone many reliable providers. And so what Lava is this aggregation central, which brings together all providers on any chain, on every chain, and does all the routing automatically. And so all of that can be abstracted away for a developer. Right? A developer doesn't need to have a contract with this provider on Ethereum, a contract with this provider on a Rail rollup, a contract with this provider on Solana if they want to build on those three chains. They just use Lava. Lava has providers for all of the three chains, and Lava will do the routing for you. So it's all abstracted away for the developer, let alone for the end user. And this is where we see Lava sitting within the chain abstraction landscape.
Interesting. I think it's a good way to think because then, users, devs, they don't really need to care about, like the RPC provider or
Yeah,
like anything else. Everything is abstracted. So I think it makes the DevX, if not 10x, at least like, 5x better for a lot of people.
absolutely.
Okay, that's very interesting actually. So, like we talked about like the whole chain abstraction. We talked about like modular. Um, can I like I saw your announcements, and I see that there's a Lava token as well. So can you like talk a little bit about like how what the utility is of Lava token within the network? Because like for example, Avail has its own utilities, ZK has its own. Um, does Lava fit into the RPC culture, or like how does it work out in the network?
Yeah, for sure. And also, congrats to Avail for launching as well, and launching Avail too. Hope you guys have really long-term success. But yeah, Lava launched mainnet 2 days ago. Also, the token was launched actually on a DEX. A really different approach, which I invite you guys to go check out. And essentially, uh, what Lava is Lava is a utility token that powers the Lava network. And there's many ways that this is done. Again, it might be helpful to think about this from a deep in perspective, where in order for a provider to join the network, for an RPC provider to join Lava network, they need to stake Lava. And that staked Lava ensures that there's security and accountability behind the requests, the responses that a provider is serving, right? Otherwise, they could just make up the answer. So if there's accountability, if there's a Lava stake behind it, they can actually be punished via jailing or slashing if they don't have a good quality of service, or they can be rewarded in more Lava tokens over time as their service accrues. So staking of the Lava token by RPC providers is a big part. On top of that, obviously, you have validators of the Lava blockchain, which, as I mentioned, is a minimalist or so-called lazy blockchain. And the validators also stake Lava tokens. As you can imagine, there is also uh, a functionality where you have everyday users like I don't know, me, for example, you can buy the Lava token and stake it to a validator to help secure the blockchain. That's really common. For example, Ethereum does this. I think Avail does as well. And the unique thing about Lava is that that staked token that you've already staked to a validator can be restaked. So let me say that again. The You stake to a validator, and
Hmm.
the same amount that you stake to the validator, you can restake to an RPC provider on Lava. Okay,
Interesting.
and what that means is that you are actually helping boost the overall performance and security of the network by firstly securing the responses, as I mentioned, but also by boosting the top quality and performant providers. Because providers are selected to handle requests based on their geolocation, as I mentioned, based on their historical quality of service, and also based on the size of their stake. So if you are a user, you can stake to a validator and then restake to an RPC provider to boost the RPC provider and to overall boost the quality of the network. And so that's a key functionality as well. There's other functionality, of course, like the gas fees, or something which I forgot to mention is if you're a dApp developer, you use the free RPC on Lava, but you can also buy subscriptions on chain with Lava, right? And so that Lava is paid out to providers, and in return you get higher rate limits RPC service. And so the Lava token is multi-functional, has a lot of utility, and yeah, hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a very you know, I can say these are very broad slash not broad, but like very well thought, use cases over there. Especially I like the whole idea of like restaking as well to boost the network. That's actually pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's something that we thought about a lot.
Mhm.
What Lava actually has a cap supply. The Lava token is cap supply. What you
Okay.
see is that we essentially managed to lower the security costs. So instead of paying validators a lot of tokens, you have rewards for the validators, and then the validators can restake their stake and earn provider rewards as well. So essentially, you can lower the security cost of the protocol by doing this, and obviously help boost the performance of the network. So yeah, it's an interesting approach that our research team chose.
Okay, yeah, that's and just a very follow-up side question. Have you ever seen this restaking mechanism somewhere else? Like, not the Eigen or any other place, but like, in the realm of RPC providers or like anything similar to deep in projects.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't. Maybe you're hinting that you have, but I haven't seen that. Does Avail have it? Or
We have something called Avail Fusion, which is there for additive security of the network itself, but
uh,
that's in somewhere in, I think, 2025 Q1, or like, not to promise any date, but it's like our last product that we're working on.
interesting.
The first one is Avail Nexus, which is basically going to be the unifying all the rollups in the Web3 ecosystem. So that's like one product that I'm really excited about after Avail DA, and more news, more alpha on it very soon.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, shout out DVL, Trinity, DA, Nexus, Fusion. Really excited for all of those coming up.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's shift gears, from a lot of like technical things, a lot of like other, chain abstraction topics. We want to talk a little bit more about the community. I've seen, like, you're very big on community. I've seen a lot of your tweets, and like there are like 3,500 people listening to us right now. So I'm very grateful for Avail community, Lava community coming together, listening to us. So how do you see leveraging community for Lava? Um, how I understand it is it's a more of like a business to business, right? If a B2B thing. So how do you leverage the community? What do you expect out of community? What you want to deliver to community? What do you think about these, thought process questions?
Yeah. I think it's a great question. Also, I didn't realize we'd expanded to 3.5K. So GM to everyone on the call, and
Yep.
hopefully I'm not waffling too much. But yeah, I think community is so important, right? Like the the word community has evolved so much in the last 4 years since I've been in crypto. I remember at the very start when people were making um, almost I don't know, like
NFT communities.
yeah, NFT communities, but sometimes quite superficial posts about community and Web3, etc. Um, but I think now we've learned that all of this is from the ground up, and it really is a entirely different paradigm that we're working in crypto. It's very grassroots generated. I'll give a quick example. Um, Before mainnet, I I was just surprised calling some of the people in our Discord. Some people that I
Mhm.
saw active and contributing, and a lot of people were so supportive of that. And I really felt like that there were one-to-one relationships there. Obviously, it's not scalable, but this is what you need to do to build a community. So this is just one of the things that we're doing at Lava, to think about how we can coordinate community and foster community and sense of identity. Um, there are also uh, things related to our launch, right? So, like I said, we launched on the DEX, and the whole point was that we wanted to be accessible and also for people to focus on long-term utility as opposed to speculative valuations, etc. And so, even this approach here, you can see that we're thinking about how we can foster a core set of believers that will focus on um, the utility of the Lava token, but also obviously the product itself, right, which is ultimately our main focus. And so, um, coming to that, we have many different ways that someone can contribute to the protocol, and I think Lava is one of those projects where there's there's so many ways for someone to use the token to contribute, whether you're technical or non-technical. You have the people who are more technical that run nodes, right, run RPC providers, and serve requests on different blockchains. Those people can participate in Lava. And then you have people who write the specs for Lava to add new chains. And one thing I didn't mention is that if you write a spec for a new chain or rollup, and that spec is passed through governance, then every time a relay is served, according to that spec, you will earn Lava rewards, right? So there's also incentives for people to write specs as well, right? So that's another way in which community can participate. And then obviously we've spoken already about staking and restaking, etc. And so I think having built in various pathways for people of all levels of technicality to contribute is the best way. One, and then two, reaching as many people to participate is the second key step, because there's no point talking about a decentralized blah 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 if there's three option providers or I don't know 100 stakers, right? It's just not enough. Right? We want to build the access layer for blockchains, and for that, that's a huge vision that requires everyone to take part and should be owned by everyone. Right? The decision about who owns and who accesses different blockchains. So uh, I would say community is built into Lava product from the core, and yeah, this is how we're doing that. The one more thing I wanted to mention, which I need to shout out as well. I need to shout out the amazing people in our Discord. For example, Ethics, the
Mhm.
mods, and the volunteer mods, and the volunteer mods, and all those people who, especially in the last week with the mainnet, have been working overtime to make sure every ticket is answered, every question is answered, to make sure people feel good uh, about Lava. So I want to shout out those people as well, because clearly there you see genuine one-to-one believers and core
Yep.
community. And then also, finally, I want to touch on memes as well. We have mascots too, which I recommend any community to have, and also quests in the community, games in our Discord, which you can get involved in as well. So we're also building up that uh, from the ground up in our Discord, a lot of which you don't see on Twitter. And I want to shout out Gabriel as well. He may or may not be listening. I think he is listening. Who's leading a lot of that in the
Mhm.
community. So many ways to get involved, essentially.
Yeah, I really like the shout out because like even at Avail, we have so many of these community members, and then like the mods, and then we have like Avail educators who have been like working tirelessly during the mainnet. When we had unification drop, we had like other things. Like they've been just there helping us out.
Yeah.
Um, all just volunteering. So this is like because they're like so excited about the Avail, or they're excited about like any XYZ project. So like these people are like keystones, and that's why like I'm very bullish on the community idea. Even though like we are like a DA layer, and then other products, and then you guys are RPC. I think community really speaks for itself. They've been supportive for a long time for both of us, and that's the biggest key, honestly. So,
Yeah,
uh, yeah,
fully
go
agree.
on.
No, I was going to say fully agree. Um, and I've lost my train of thought now, but yeah, fully agree.
Okay, yeah. We are at 4.2K viewers right now.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's very good. GM everyone, like hope you guys are doing good. We are almost there. Two more questions for you, Ethan. Number one, how do you think Avail and Lava partnership, endorse each other? How we can help more devs to build on top of our projects? And then another question would be like, if someone wants to connect to you, how can they connect to you? How they can contribute to Lava? Anything, these two questions for you.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, for those that don't know how Avail and Lava partnering is, any rollup that builds on Avail DA, shout out Avail DA again, mainnet launched a few days ago. Any rollup that launches on Avail DA will also use Lava for their RPC. Okay, so you can think of that roll up on top, and underneath you have Avail DA layer and you have Lava RPC access layer. And so it's very simple. If you wanna if you believe in the modular world, the modular thesis, then this partnership is made for you. And we're super excited to work with Avail on this. Uh, I've been following your project as well for a while, and again, congrats on your launch. And we're excited to have the first roll-ups deploy on top of Lava in the coming weeks and months. Um, I don't know if you had anything else to add, Naruto, about that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I feel personally, I feel like this Avail and Lava partnership, it's one of the key figures, and I really care about this partnership because I've been following you guys for a long time. I've been following Avail for a while as well, like, way before I joined. So that I really want to make an impact on, how we can work together, how we can build better DevX and all the, support for these new devs coming in who believe in like the modular thesis,
Yeah,
or who just want to like use our services. So definitely like we want to support them, want to make it better for them. So this partnership really matters to me personally as well. And then like final question to you, because I know like you're on a time crunch as well, Ethan. If someone needs to connect to you, how they can connect to you? I know there's Twitter. Anything else, and how can someone contribute to Lava directly if they want to? If you have any thoughts over there.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, always in Discord. So feel free to jump into our Discord. You can find the link on our Twitter or our website, LavaNet XYZ. Um, and also happy to chat to you on Twitter as well. Like, feel free to get in touch. How you can contribute? Wow, a massive lightning strike outside just now. Um, but yeah, anyway, how we can contribute was something I already mentioned, right? You can stake Lava. Lava is now live. You can help secure the network. You can restake as well. Currently, we have one chain live, which is Lava itself. So you can restake to Lava obfuscate providers on Lava. But in the coming weeks and months, we've got a lot of chains and rollups coming, right? I'm sure there'll be Avail rollups coming. We've got Starknet, Filecoin, Cosmos Hub, Union, which is another modular project. We have Stargaze, a Cosmos project, uh, and more. All of these chains are actually launching incentive pools on Lava with their own tokens or stablecoins, which means that RPC providers can join Lava, earn Lava, and also earn tokens from other chains. So you can earn Stark tokens, for example, or Near tokens from Near Protocol if you want. So, and again, those rewards also go to restakers. So you want to contribute like that, you can. Um, of course, you can add new chains. You don't have to wait for your chain to be added to Lava. You can do it yourself by writing a spec, and you can be rewarded for that. And then last but not least, again, we're building this up ground up from the Discord. Join the Discord and take part in the quests. I believe we've got one up right now, which is about sharing your thoughts about how we executed the launch and what you think um, other projects maybe to take away or how you think token launches should be done. Right? These are all community thoughts that together as an industry we should be discussing as opposed to just converging on the same old plans and playbooks. So join the Discord. There's games nights. I think there's poker night coming up this weekend, um, and there's Quest live right now. So look forward to seeing you all there. And yeah, GM, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ethan. Honestly, I love this conversation with you. We touched based on like a lot of points. I got to learn a lot of things which I didn't know about Lava. So like you're very like you say you're a community lead, but I believe like you're one of those technical BDs or like those high level DevRels. I consider you that.
You need to meet the rest of the team because there's a CTO who is levels more technical than I am. So if you're
Mhm.
impressed by me, chat to him for sure because he.
We should definitely bring him someday for sure. But yeah, like thanks for being here, and we should do it one more time sometime in the future. All the best for like Lava. I know like you guys have already done the mainnet, but everything that we do together, all the best for that, and we'll keep in touch.
Cool. Thanks, Naruto. Good to be here, and thanks to the
All right,
community.
thanks a lot, guys. 4,685 people listening. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll see you next week with another hot take slide. Thanks. I